In the year 1879, there was a clash over dust and money on the edge of the Atacama Desert that would reshape three nations. What looks like a fight for a thin strip of saltpeter and guano was, in truth, the eruption of long-brewing political ambition, foreign capital, and a concealed military pact. This is the true-life story of the War of the Pacific. For decades, the deserts of the Pacific littoral had become a global commodity zone. Guano and nitrate, fertilizer and explosives were as valuable as coal. British and other European investors poured capital into Chilean and Bolivian companies extracting saltpeter from coastal deposits. Control of the coastline meant control of wealth. Borders drawn on maps in distant capitals carried little weight on the ground, where Chilean settlers, Bolivian authorities, and Peruvian merchants jostled over mines and rails. Diplomacy tried to contain the pressure. Treaties in the 1860s and 1870s aimed to fix boundaries and commercial rights. But the most consequential document, never intended for public eyes, was the secret defensive alliance Peru signed with Bolivia in 1873. Concealed in Lima's archives, it committed Peru to come to Bolivia's aid if its sovereignty were threatened, an agreement known only to a narrow circle of ministers. That clandestine promise would convert a commercial quarrel into a continental war. In late 1878, Bolivia, desperate for revenue, levied a tax on the nitrate companies operating in its Litoral province. The Chilean-owned firms refused to pay. Bolivian authorities threatened seizure. On February 14, 1879, Chilean troops crossed from Antofagasta and occupied the Bolivian port to protect Chilean citizens and assets. Bolivia declared war days later. Peru, pressured by its secret treaty and by fears of losing influence in the nitrate trade, tried to mediate, but its hidden obligations and quarreling ministers made genuine neutrality impossible. What followed was a campaign of sea and sand. The war's early drama unfurled at sea. On May 21, 1879, off the port of Iquique, the Peruvian ironclad Huáscar engaged the Chilean wooden corvette Esmeralda in a duel that would be immortalized in both nations' histories. Chilean captain Arturo Prat leapt on deck to rally his crew and died in battle. His last stand became the seed of Chilean national myth. Yet naval power shifted later that year at the Battle of Angamos, October 8, 1879, when Chile captured the Huáscar. With control of the Pacific lanes, Chilean forces could move men and material along the coast and conduct amphibious operations. On land, the fighting was bitter and often brutal. Battles at Pisagua, Tacna, Arica, and Tarapacá tested the endurance of armies unprepared for desert warfare. Chilean expeditions marched north, occupying economically vital nitrate fields that Bolivia and Peru could not hold. Lima itself was invaded. In January 1881, Chilean troops entered the Peruvian capital, and the city's wealth and archives were looted in episodes that scandalized observers at the time. The conspiracy at the heart of the conflict was less a cloak-and-dagger cabal than a convergence of secret diplomacy and economic pressure. Peru's undisclosed treaty turned regional anxieties into alliance obligations. Meanwhile, the interests of foreign capital, principally British investors who financed nitrate extraction, aligned with Chile's objectives. Chile's political and military leadership saw an opportunity to secure not only territory, but control over a commodity that would fuel its economy for decades. The war's repercussions were decisive. Bolivia lost its coastal province and became landlocked. Peru conceded vast nitrate-rich territories. Chile emerged as the dominant military and economic power on the Pacific coast. The nitrate boom funded railways and cities, and the mineral wealth from those seized deserts flowed into global markets and European fields. Yet the human toll, tens of thousands dead, devastated communities, and national traumas left scars that shaped national memories into the 20th century. This was not merely a war over salt and sand, it was a collision of hidden pacts, commerce, and ambition. The secret treaty that drew Peru into Bolivia's fate, the strategic designs of Chilean elites, and the profit-driven shadows of foreign capital combined to redraw borders and rewrite histories. The War of the Pacific remains a stark lesson. When covert agreements meet economic hunger, entire nations can be swept away in the pursuit of resources.